Just to start off on the correct note, on January 20th, 1980, one of the greatest people on the face of the earth was born. It's a pretty good start to a great decade. In 1980, the Rubik's Cube debuted at the International Toy Fair. The Rubik's Cube was a big hit during the 1980s as it challenged young minds and led to a decrease in boredom.
In 1981 saw the first space shuttle launch, with Columbia being the first space shuttle. It performed 27 missions before deteriorating on re-entry in 2003.
E.T. was released in 1982. There were many more iconic movies that came out in the 1980s, however, such as The Goonies, Ghostbusters, The Terminator, Back to the Future, Stand By Me, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Spaceballs. Also in 1982, Tony Hawk joined the Bones Brigade and turned professional. The 1980s were big for skateboarding, with the invention of the ollie and the creation of the modern skateboard. Also pioneered during the 1980s was ramps, as can be seen on this video.
The Strategic Defense Initiative, more commonly known as Star Wars, initiated in 1983, was Reagan's attempt to develop a high-technology missile defense system that never came to fruition. Concerning Star Wars, the third film of the original Star Wars trilogy was released in 1983, becoming the second highest-grossing film of the decade.
The 1980s was dominated by bright clothes and very, very, very baggy clothes. The more clothes, the better. Rainbow tie-dye was also quite popular, as was gold chains for men. Interesting enough, most of the fashion trends were also unisex. Steve Jobs released the first Macintosh, which made computers accessible to everyone.
The Iran-Contra Affair revealed that the U.S. had been selling weapons to the anti-American government in Iran and had been using the profits from these sales to secretly and illicitly finance the Contras in Nicaragua.
The Space Shuttle Challenger exploded on liftoff due to an O-ring on a solid rocket booster exploding, killing all 7 on board. Also, Chernobyl exploded due to human error and bad manufacturing techniques. Finally, in 1986, the Atari 7600 was released. During the 1980s, the video game market exploded, with systems coming out from many manufacturers including Sega, Nintendo, and Atari. Many classic video games were released during this time, including Pac-Man, Super Mario Bros., Donkey Kong, Tetris, The Legend of Zelda, and many others that we still love today. The 1980s released many, many, many songs that are very iconic. This list was given to me by my father, who was actually a teenager during the 1980s, so who better to ask than a teenager to know about all the pop music of the day.
In 1987, the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty was signed. The treaty banned all intermediate range nuclear missiles from Europe and further lessened the tensions of the Cold War.
George H.W. Bush was elected president.
In 1989 signaled the end of an era with the fall of the Berlin Wall. The fall of the seemingly imperishable symbol of the Cold War and the animosity between the U.S. and Russia indicated the end of the Cold War, further establishing that, without reservation, the 1980s was the best decade in American history.